Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about body positioning and alignment. Now I'm not talking about body posture and form. Those are issues that we'll discuss at a later time. What I'm going to talk about are things that directly relate to your alignment to the target, your natural body position and alignment to the target as it relates to getting the bullet downrange most efficiently and with the greatest accuracy. And it can be accomplished from this can be accomplished from any of the standard positions, whether they be standing offhand, sitting, kneeling, prone, or even if you're shooting from a bench. Natural body alignment and positioning is critical, especially with moving targets. And sometimes people don't consider how natural body positioning and alignment relates to moving targets, the ability to hit moving targets efficiently and successfully. So first of all, what is exactly body positioning and alignment? Well, when we're shooting small arms, whether it's handgun, shotgun, or rifle. Now, you might wonder what it has to do with shotguns. We'll get into that because it's one of the most important aspects of it. But when we're shooting small arms, this is our platform. This is the platform from which we shoot. We have a skeletal and muscular mass, a structure, which provides a very efficient means of controlling a firearm. And sometimes people don't use that appropriately and efficiently. If you're in a, right now I'm standing in a position which is very comfortable facing toward the camera. If I were to twist and turn my body and attempt to speak to the camera over here, eventually I would tire and my body would want to rotate back into a normal position. Or if I was speaking over here, that's fine for a couple of moments, but eventually I want to, you can watch, your body swings to a natural stop. Now, if you're in the military, people who are standing at attention, their thumbs are curled and their hands are alongside the seam of their trousers, and their attention with their feet positioned as they're supposed to, and their shoulders are erect and everything. But then you hear the command, "at ease," and everybody drops to a standard, relaxed position. This is what you want to have when you're shooting. You want to have a standard, relaxed position where your body feels at ease. You can never shoot accurately if your body is not in a natural stance. Now let me point that all these firearms, I've got three demonstration firearms here I'm going to be using. They've been cleared off camera. But first of all, with regard to the handgun, if I am pointing at this target, I'm using a one-handed position right now. If I'm pointing at the target, and right now I'm directing my sights directly at the center of the camera. Right now you should be looking right up through the sights directly toward me. Right now my hand is in a natural position. As long as my muscles are able to hold this gun erect, it'll point towards the camera. However, if I rotate my feet off to one side and I point, as time goes on, I quickly tire and my arm wants to swing over here because I turned my feet to the side. And yet many people fail to take into consideration where their feet are pointed. So right now my arm wants to swing and point in this direction. Rather than pointing the gun where I need to, I point my feet where I need to. This is how I can stay on target and avoid any windage problems throughout the course of fire. And again, now this is requiring only that my suspension muscles, in other words, that my rotator cuff muscles are pulling the arm in an upward position to hold to elevate the gun, but I'm not requiring my chest muscles nor my back muscles to come into play to maintain a straight aim of fire. And that's how you want to have a natural body position. And you know, a skilled marksman will always be conscious of where his feet are pointing at all times, and it can translate to as much as a quarter of an inch, because your muscles will dictate exactly where their natural neutral position is. You know, if you think about your muscles, your upper body muscles, your lower body muscles, and everything, as being like, you know, you see Matt Dillon in the old you know, the old Gunsmoke series, walking into the saloon. He opens up the spring doors, the double doors, and they flop to a stop. That's exactly what your muscles want to do. They want to flop to a natural stop and to come into a rest position. So allow them to do that. Oftentimes, you know, I equate shooting control with the same sort of controls that a golfer must use. A golfer will always position his feet toward the flag, toward the cup, no matter where he is. He has to always position his feet in the way that they will translate that ball to the cup. It doesn't make his swing is entirely related to his feet. He can only swing in the direction that his feet take him. If he tries to swing in any other direction, the ball's it's gonna slice, or it's gonna hook, or he's gonna top the ball. So just as a golfer has to move his swing in relation to his the direction that his feet are positioned, the shooter must also place his body in the direction that he wishes the shot to fall. Now, does that also have to do with other types of handgun positions, for instance? Absolutely. For instance, if I were to take this Weaver position right here, which is popular for, you know, for combat style shooting, I'm using a supportive position with two arms. It's not necessarily more accurate than using one hand. One hand is very, very accurate. It also blades yourself to the target and provides a naturally smaller target yourself. But if you're shooting in a two-hand supported position, which is efficient for different positions, remember that your most effective position is the one where everything falls naturally into center. Now, can I go to other positions and shoot efficiently? Absolutely. But by having my neutral towards the target, towards the most efficient one, I can swing to this side and I can swing to this side, generally within this arc. It's approximately about a 80-degree arc. If I wish to engage multiple targets, therefore, I want to make sure that all my targets are positioned within that natural arc without having to move my feet. Okay? If I were shooting in the isosceles position, which you can see is this position right here, where both arms are equally stretched toward the target. In this position, again, my feet are square to the target now. I'm not at an obtuse or acute angle. I'm square to the target, and I'm directly positioned in this manner. And then I can also shoot again as far as my hips and my lower back will allow me to swing, as long as my spine. And if I also get up on the balls of my feet and engage my knees, then I can exaggerate my swing to 180 degrees. But again, my natural position is directly towards the front. So in all cases, try to maintain a natural position. Now we're going to see what this means with a rifle. And also, everything that I do now, remember, this will also work, and this is also necessary with shooting, whether it's a sitting position, prone position, kneeling position, bench position, whatever. Everything has to be natural. Check your body out and make sure that you're not twisted and contorted. Now, in rifle shooting, there are many different situations that a rifle shooter will encounter. If he or she is shooting formally offhand, say target shooting, or at a distant game, the position that's best is one where the supportive arm is perpendicular, just as if it was a monopod. In other words, a straight stick. You don't need to have shooting sticks and all these other things. Learn to use your body. Your body is made of hard, dense bone that's as good a tripod as anything out there, as long as you learn to use it efficiently. Are shooting sticks and tripods and all these things effective? Absolutely. But you know, if you're hunting a field, this is what I like to carry with me. I don't like to carry anything else, because I can hit anything I want using the natural structure that God gave me, without carrying any other instruments, without carrying you know, a bipod that requires wheels of itself to carry around. If I'm shooting offhand and I'm shooting at a distant target, there are many different ways. If I'm shooting at an elevated angle, I first of all want to make sure my arm is allowed to rest on my lower body. The rifle can be positioned in this manner. It can be positioned in this manner. It can be positioned in this manner on the knuckles. There's no incorrect way to do it. Whatever works at the moment. You can use your fingers. Sometimes you can cause slight changes in elevation by simply moving your fingers closer or farther apart. If you have a magazine, you can support the magazine on top of your hands or your thumb or your knuckles. Whatever is secure, there's no right and wrong way to do it. The main thing is to have the elbow directly under the gun. So whether I'm shooting in this posture, whether I'm shooting in this posture, whether I'm shooting in this posture, or if I'm supported on a magazine, the most important thing is to remember that it's natural. If I let my arm go here, this arm is still supporting the rifle. It does not require this arm to do anything other than to create the pocket to control the gun, and also to place my finger on the trigger and to pull the gun back towards my shoulder comfortably. There should be no exertion. Whether you're shooting a 22 long rifle or shooting a .458 Winchester Magnum, your body should be at all times comfortable and allowed to swing. In other words, if you're a boxer and you're using a large body bag, punching bag, you know, if you punch a free hanging bag, that bag will absorb the impact and it will just swing with your punch. And that's what you want to do with rifle. You don't want to buttress yourself against a rifle. It's curious how when people use bigger bore guns, whether it's a shotgun or whether they're using heavy bore rifles, say Magnum rifles and things like that, they get into more exaggerated buttressed positions. In other words, they resist the recoil. They hang on tight, and they get slammed by it. If you're shooting a high-powered rifle, you want to do just the opposite. If you're shooting a high-powered shotgun, you want to do just the opposite. You want to simply allow your weight to be naturally into the gun, but without any exertion, so that the gun can rotate back and simply come back to position. You don't want to be like a supported punching bag, you know, where the coach grabs the bag so that when the boxer is punching it, he can drive his arms into it. You don't want to have the gun driving itself into you. You want to have the gun as part of you. So as the gun goes off, it naturally just recoils, and you know, you can shoot tremendously heavy calibers without any ill effects for a long period of time, especially shotguns and large bore rifles like 45 70s and things like that. Not that I'm actually recommending any particular calibers, but you should not approach heavier guns with heavier resistance. It's just the opposite. You want to never resist the gun, whether it's a 22 long rifle or whether it's a heavy 458 Winchester Magnum. Allow yourself to swing with it. All right, so when I'm talking about offhand shooting, the natural position is for me to, if I'm shooting at long distance, say maybe at a 75 or 100 yard target, I want to make sure that my supported arm, that be in my case, my left, it would be my weak side to anyone who's a southpaw. So it would be my left arm is directly beneath the weight of the gun, so it can support it entirely. As I showed you, it doesn't require my right arm to support it. It's totally supported by the left arm. If I'm shooting from an offhand position, I want to look down and see that my feet are the toes of my feet should be approximately shoulder width apart. That provides for a lot of good support. You don't want to get into an exaggerated wide stance. Never shoot from an exaggerated wide stance, because just like a tripod or a wall is weakened when it's too wide, it begins to splay out. This becomes uncomfortable very quickly, and it puts a lot of stress on your inside leg muscles, and it tires you, and everything that becomes tired goes right to your upper body, and it makes you weaker as a shooter. You want to have your legs just angled as you were standing talking to somebody. Shooting should not create weird positions. When I'm standing here talking to you, or if you're standing here talking to me, and we're having a cocktail together, and or a beer, and we're standing there and we're chatting, that's exactly the same position that your feet should be at when you're shooting. No different. You shouldn't be getting into a contrived position for shooting. The position that you take for shooting should be the same one that you feel most relaxed at when you're talking to somebody. Good thing to have right now. Now, so with my feet at a natural position, start to get a little bit of muscle memory and understand how you point toward a target naturally, so you don't have to correct your feet as you get into position. So if my target is out in this direction here, I simply know from my muscle memory that I simply elevate my gun and I'm going to be pretty close. Now I make any fine adjustments, I fine tune things. If I'm shooting at a bullseye that's 100 yards away, and I bring up my bead, and right now I'm looking at the bullseye is about 12 inches to the right of my bead. All that means is I just scoop my feet around just a tiny bit, and I bring it right on target so that it's naturally pointed at the bullseye, rather than having to find the bullseye and keeping my feet in one position. Always make sure to scoot your feet around. This can be done very quickly, even if it's a deer standing 75 or 100 yards away. You want to learn how to get your feet positioned, planted comfortably, and simply have the bead naturally pointed towards the deer or the bullseye, or whatever it is. It can be done very quickly and very efficiently. Now, if we are talking about moving targets, let's take the shotgun. Now, A moving target, this could also be with the rifle, but I'm going to use the shotgun because I'm going to show you how important it is, especially with a shotgun, because most targets with a shotgun are moving. That's what a shotgun is designed for, and that's what it's well suited for, is for shooting at moving targets. If you're at a trap range or a skeet range or a sporting clays competition where you're shooting at different targets, again, remember that your body naturally falls to a certain neutral position. If you're shooting from a trap, say if you're familiar with how a trap range is set out, you've got 5 stations, and each of those stations moves a few degrees progressively toward the right, and then as you move progressively farther toward the right, the clay birds, as they fly out of the house, they come out at different relational angles. So in other words, the person who's standing at the far left, if they're standing at the far left station, the first station, targets which come out at an acute left, at a complete left-hand shot from the trap house will be coming out very, very sharply from the right to left. And if you're standing at the same position and the trap house sends a bird sharply to the right, that bird, on the other hand, now is going directly away from you because of your position relationship to the house. Your position now is showing that bird going straight away. So you, compared to the person on the right-hand side, the far right-hand station, your hardest shot is the one where the bird is flying from right to left. His hardest shot, the guy on the number 5 station, his hardest shot is the one that is flying hard left to right. So everything is in direct relationship and proportion to where you are positioned around that trap house. So wherever no trap shooter of any report has ever found himself with the same toe positioning at each of the stations. He knows that as he moves around from one station to the other, he has to correct his position to account for the direction of his hardest bird. Let me say that again. You want to be able to basically accommodate the hardest shot you're going to get, and all the others will become easier. If you're the person who's in the middle position, the number 3 station, whether it's the hard right bird or the hard left bird, it doesn't. Your position should be rather neutral, so that you can swing either to the left or swing to the right. You can swing either to the left or swing to the right with a follow through. If you're standing at the far left station, the number 1 station, your objective is to be able to swing all the way quickly to the left. So therefore, I don't want to make myself neutral and have to swing this way where I bind up suddenly and I can't follow through, because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be missing those hard left-hand birds. Rather, you want to coil your feet so that your knees and your feet are coiled so that you are positioned towards the trap house corner, and now as the bird releases, you can swing and naturally follow through by uncoiling you. So you should be uncoiled as the bird is struck by the pellets. In other words, you should be swinging and following through. You don't want to be abruptly stopped by muscle rotation problems. I'll do a little bit more of this, explaining of this as we get outside. Right now we've got about 3.5 feet of snow out there, so it's not a very good time to do any outdoor instruction. But I'm trying to get across to you the importance of keeping your muscles in tune with where you are shooting. So whether you're shooting at a stationary position or shooting at a moving target, your muscles will always be naturally positioned toward the target. And if it's a moving target, that the muscles naturally uncoil toward the target. let's say you're shooting at a running rabbit or a running deer. In that situation, it's the same thing. If you're expecting a rabbit to be running from right to left, you want to make sure that your rifle is positioned so that it naturally can swing from right to left without binding. So right to left means that if my neutral position is here, I only have from here to here before my muscles bind up, before I lose my natural swing. If on the other hand I position myself so that I coil myself towards where he's starting from, if the deer or the rabbit is starting from over here, I'm coiled, and then as he's traveling, I can complete my swing and go in a full arc by uncoiling my muscles. Uncoiling my muscles means that I'm able to follow through and swing through with the trigger squeeze. So always, now, you just saw something that's a little different than I just showed you before with the rifle. When I was shooting with the rifle before, I was shooting at a stationary target, and I'm positioning my body so that I have a supported position under the gun. Whether it's shooting at a long distance, I can elevate my gun up like this, or I can extend it my forearm forward so that I can shoot downhill. But if I'm shooting at a target which is moving, I want to have my arms positioned neutrally so that they can swing in either direction. And you don't want to exaggerate your elbows. Sometimes I see, again, sometimes shooters take exaggerated postures so they think they can swing quickly in either direction by doing that. But there's nothing under me right now. There's nothing supporting the gun. In a moving target situation, the rifle shooter should be the same as the shotgun shooter. His body should be angled, pointed toward the target, and his elbows should be positioned to, just like a tent, to support the gun in both directions and to allow a natural swing. And everything should be very fluid and loose without tightening up. Now you can't very well see it. Let me see if I can move back. When you're shooting at moving targets, and even with a shotgun, very frequently I see shotgun shooters, again, they buttress themselves. Their feet are angled far apart, and they're usually perpendicular to the target, and they brace themselves, and they have no place to go. Usually they end up twisting at the lower back, and they come to an abrupt halt, and the gun hurts, and they can't hit anything. If you could see my feet right now, I'm heel to toe. My heel and toe are about that far apart. They're about half a shoulder's width apart. I'm in a walking position as I'm walking towards the target. However you would normally walk, that's the position that your feet should fall in when you're taking a offhand shot at a moving target or with a shotgun. You shouldn't have your feet any wider apart than that, because in a natural walking position, you're able to spin on your knees in the balls of your feet, and you're able to turn with the target. If your feet are splayed wide apart, you have very little ability to move, and your weight naturally falls on your heels. You don't want your weight on your heels of your feet. You want the weight on the balls of your feet like an athlete. You want to be like a boxer, ready to swing at any time. Now, getting used to mounting the gun so that you have a good cheek weld is vital to the whole process. Whether you're shooting a shotgun or a rifle, your cheek weld is extremely important, and it should be in relation to whatever sights you're using. Whether you're using iron sights, such as these receiver sights, or whether you're using a telescope or a red dot. At all times, the comb should position your eye perfectly in alignment. If it doesn't, you need to either change the position of your sights by getting different front and rear sight height relationship, different scope mount height, or perhaps even apply a pad to the stock. There are many pads available that you can. Sometimes, you know, competition shooters will even just simply apply a piece of leather, just one piece of thin leather, or a piece of what's called moleskin that you can get at the drugstore on the stock, just to give them a little bit better position, maybe to move their face or their eye just 1/8 of an inch, and that's important. But when you're taking a shooting stance, again, it's just toe to heel, and I'm walking toward the target. I'm not walking sideways, you know, as if I'm using skis going up a mountain. That's totally inappropriate for a moving target. I want to be able to walk. If I'm walking through the woods, I'm walking. I'm not going sideways, sidling. As I walk forward, I plant my foot forward and angle my body from my hips just naturally forward and without exaggeration. You don't want to get into a long unnatural body forward position, because that'll tie you up just as badly as the person who's on his heels. You want to have just simply as if you're pointing, hey, you. That's all. Remember, shotgun and rifle moving shots, it's the same as pointing, right? You're trying to just point in that direction. You. So if you can remember, you want to just position yourself so it's you, and learn to mount the gun in a natural fashion. And it should, without even looking, you should be able to see your bead through the peep sight. Boom, and that's all there is to it. So, as we later get into actual shooting postures, the standing position, kneeling position, offhand, all these things, we'll do these outside in more detail. I just want to get across to you the importance of having a natural stance. If you're shooting a handgun and you're shooting at a precise target as a bullseye is, or if you're shooting at whether it be a small bottle of liquid that you're shooting when you're plinking, your bead should fall now, your crosshair should fall naturally on that target by positioning your feet. Nothing should change. I have my natural position. My arm wants to come up in this position. It doesn't want to come up in this position or in this position. It swings like that barroom door. It just wants to, just like the saloon door, wants to swing right here. That's where my hand is. So I simply position my feet. I change my feet to put the bead on the target, to put the sights on the target. And if you do that, I guarantee you won't be having shots fading off to the right and fading off to the left. They'll tend. That's what you want to look for. You want to have your shots tend wherever they want to air. You want to have them air toward the middle, not toward the side, left or right. And everything should take care of itself. Now, before I get off this topic, we want to talk about follow through. You hear a lot about follow through, but exactly what is follow through? Follow through is the completion of the trigger squeeze right through the entire shot. If I'm shooting, now I've watched many a person in competition, and they fired through an entire course, and every shot is on target. Every shot is closely clustered in a group, and they have a marvelous target going on. And then in the last shot, it's boom. They do this. They fire that last shot. Watch now, if I can. This is what occurs. they're glad to be over with the competition, and they just lost the competition because they let down on that last shot. They wanted to hear the cheer within themselves. They wanted to hear the gallery give them a big clap. They want, you know, this is the downfall and demise of many a shooting competition. This is where a lot of shooters blow it. And this occurs, remember, every single shot counts for itself. You can't, there's no such thing as firing a group of shots in a competition or a group of shots in a live game. Every single shot counts for itself, and that's the only time it counts. When you fire a shot off, you have to remember that that shot counts for 10 points. It counts for an X. And that's the way you should approach every single shot. You shouldn't fire one shot thinking that, well, if I don't get that shot, I got another one. You get one shot, and then you fire the next shot, and that's one shot. So when you're firing your last shot, or your first shot, or your seventh shot, or whatever shot it is, you want to make sure that you fire that shot and you follow through and continue to hold until that bullet is down, well downrange, till after the bang, after the dust has settled. That's a follow through. Don't let yourself down. And don't get concerned about, I've mentioned this so many times before, but don't get concerned about body tremors, wobbles, or anything else. That has nothing to do with being accurate. Too many times people get concerned. They get up there and they see some sort of tremor like this, and they don't think they can hit the target. Yes, they can. Just remember to keep your sights aligned, and even those tremors will take care of themselves, and you simply keep on squeezing until it goes off. The same thing with a rifle. Just hold your position until the shot completely goes off, and after it's away and after the dust is settled, then you're done with the shot. That's a correct follow through. With a shotgun, the follow through is through the target. So when you are firing at a clay bird that's taking off, you coil toward the house or toward where the trap is, and as the bird is released, you swing through it and squeeze the trigger off. And actually, you don't squeeze a shotgun trigger so much as you simply poke at it, you slap at it, they say. In other words, it's just you don't cause the gun to move, but it's just with the trigger, you just simply slap the trigger to the rear. So you coil your body, and as the bird takes off, it's taking off in this direction. So I want to swing through. I want to completely swing through the bird and continue to go. In other words, I continue to swing after that shot went off. Listen to the trigger pull and watch what happens to the barrel as I continue to swing through. That's a follow through. You never stop the swing. With a shotgun, and when you're shooting at a running target, such as a deer with a rifle or with a handgun, you never aim at the target. You point at the target and you follow through it. You point where the target is and you follow through it. You point your bead at the deer's chest slightly in front of, you never leave his body, but slightly in front of your intended target, and as you follow through, the shot will go off, and believe it or not, even a running deer can travel several inches before the bullet gets from you to him. So you have to account for that. So on a running deer target, if the deer is running left to right, you want to position the bead just a little bit in front of his chest, so as the shot goes off, the bullet will trail back and it'll land in his vitals. So that's it. We're going to talk about breath control. Right now I'm out of breath from explaining this process. But we're going to talk a little bit about breath control in a later segment. And then we're going to hopefully have a nice day we can get outside without using snowshoes and live bulky clothing. And hope all is well with you until we meet again. God bless.